Welcome back to the Sacred Arts Academy, where we talk about all things from the practical to the sacred. I'm so excited for our guest today. Um, Birth doula Claudia Rosenhouse Raiken is here with us today. She is a senior teacher at the School of Images, where she runs their DreamBirth program. In that capacity, Claudia has trained professionals worldwide and works with countless women and couples from all continents. She is a world expert at facilitating communication between the parents and the baby in the womb, or with the souls planning to come, still not conceived, and even those that were miscarried or aborted. It is these conversations that led to the writing of messages from the womb. Claudia is a childbirth educator, a birth doula, an Alexander technique teacher, and a biodynamic craniosacral practitioner. She holds a master's from NYU in kinesiology and dance and has assisted in over 300 births. Welcome, Claudia.
Hi. It's always so strange to hear one's bio, but
It's like, oh yeah, I did do all of that. It's
exactly.
incredible, right? It's an incredible
Yeah.
recap. I so enjoyed learning about you and your journey. Can you tell us in your own words a little bit about how you came to be a birth doula and what that looked like for you?
Okay, it's a really interesting question because I have two adopted children from young women now from China. They were months when I got them, but they are now 27 and 29. So, okay, how did this happen? Um, all right. I was um I was seeing a psychic, although she became my good friend, and she mentioned one day that I should work with pregnant people. And I said, why me? Not me. I adopted. I don't know what you're talking about. Why? And she would be advised by, I think 6 people advised her. Who knows? I would call them Patricia's people. And they said, you have a lot to offer. And I didn't understand. I really fought her. I did not get it. Okay. And then I go, well, how am I going to work with pregnant women? Well, I didn't know imagery then. Well, my hands are can really help a woman relax and open from my craniosacral work. Then I live in garden apartments, and a woman across from some gardens was holding her back. And I went, oh, come, I'll give you a session. This is what I do for a living. I help people with bad backs, whatever. And she told me that her daughter was joining a few other doulas. I go, doula, what's a doula? And she says, well, they're people who help uh, people at the birth. And I go, oh my goodness, this is so interesting, right? So I, as a joke or joking, I said, boy, I should meet them because I think we could help each other. Long story short, I did meet them. And something in me said, become a doula. Literally, it was like a voice inside, become a doula. And I talked to the doula. She says, well, you don't need to become a doula. I wanted to become a doula to learn more about birth. She says, you gave us a sample session. You already know so much. But I kept thinking, become a doula. I didn't even think I could become a doula. I didn't think you were allowed to be a doula if you hadn't given birth. So I call up my friend. I said, could I have a proper session? Not as a friend, but because she kept saying as a friend, no, don't become a doula. That's your competition. You're going to offer something different. But I kept hearing become a doula. So I made an appointment. I said, pay you. This is a real session. You're not my friend right now. And the first words out of her people were, it's a wonderful idea to become a doula. Okay, so I become a doula just thinking I'm going to learn about pregnancy, but as I start to be at the workshop, I go, oh my goodness, I have so many skills that can help. And I read a book before I went. What makes you a good doula is you're not judgmental, you're curious about people, you're open. And I went like, check, check, check. And I thought, and also I have, because of my bodywork training, fabulous hands. I touch your back and everything will release. I already know so much really about anatomy. Okay. And then I go, but I haven't had a baby. Then I start to think, well, there's male OBs that help give birth who have never given birth. And there are midwives who haven't given birth. And all of a sudden, my mind starts to open up to this. Um, Long story short, I did, you know, did the training, and somebody who had trained with me in Alexander Technique had been a doula and was a childbirth educator. We connected, and she said, "Oh, Claudia, I will be your mentor. You can call me night or day, middle of the night, if you are getting stuck." Well, it turns out I took like a duck takes to water to being a doula. I didn't need to call her, but I would go blow by blow telling her everything I had done. And she said, "Oh, Claudia, I don't know how you know how to do this." So, um, in part of the training, I had heard that imagery can help. And I went, imagery? Oh, ooh, imagery. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I go to her, I go, "Oh, can you tell me about imagery?" She says, "Well, there's a book, I've never read it. It's called Mind Over Labor. Um, I read it, it's very short, and I go, there has to be more, there has to be more." Then I go to a craniosacral workshop where I'm learning more skills, and one of the assistants um, comes to me during the break, and the assistants watch you work, and she hands me, this was before web website. So she hands me all the classes at the School of Images, and I'm like, "School of Images? You mean imagery?" So anyway, I made an appointment with the head of it, the owner, the teacher, Dr. Catherine Shaneberg, and I said, "Well, can you teach me imagery for pregnancy and labor?" She laughed. She says, "Claudia, I can teach you pregnancy for anything. That's what I do. I'm imagery expert." And we started to work, and I already, right away would put to practice what she was teaching me, and I could see it made a big difference. Big difference. Women became less scared. They um, at the actual birth, they were more pliable, lots of good things. And uh, um, but then she said to me, Claudia, I do much better with a class. When I have a group of people, my creativity just blossoms. So um, I, this is when the universe wants you to do this. Somehow I had just been interviewed by two other doulas. They wanted a backup. And one of them she was a nurse also at a pretty premier hospital there. And um, they actually asked me, "So what's in your doula bag?" Meaning, how do you help people? And I told them about imagery. And it was as if I had said, "Oh, I give everybody $1 million." I mean, they were like, "What?" In any case, especially the woman that was a childbirth educator at the hospital, was a nurse. eh, We She got together a group of people that would be willing to. We all found a day we could meet. Anyway, we met, seven of us started out. Sometimes there'd be more, sometimes a little less, but usually seven. We met for 7 years with Catherine, developing the imagery. We would go in and tell her, the problems, what we wanted it for. And the type of imagery that Catherine does, now it's called sapphire. It's it has very old roots, short exercises. Usually, well, they affect your body, they affect your mind, they affect your emotions, but they also are good for hearing source,
Mm.
side horse out there. So uh, um, then for 7 years, we studied together. Then after that, she wrote a book called, do I grab it here? DreamBirth by Catherine Shainberg. And um, uh, there's such a difference when you help at a birth when you're using imagery than when you're not. I mean, night and day, night and day. And there are some exercises that are crucial and super effective, and others that are just fun. And people use this imagery for the rest of their lives because
Mm.
just for birth. So, I mean, there's uh, uh, imagery exercises for fear, for getting courage, which is almost right the flip side of for uh, uh, for being able to fill yourself with light and then give it to your child, give it to somebody
Mm.
else. Um, it's to learn how to speak soul to soul through the ethers, which is one of the most fabulous things you can do. You can speak, that's how we speak to the baby in the womb. That's how you can speak to your partner or your mother-in-law, especially if there's a little bit of trouble. You have a talk before you have a talk, and you learn how to listen through the ethers, um, through the field. So it's pretty fabulous stuff. I took it in to help with pregnant women, but a lot of the basic exercises that are good for human beings is what we need to use because a woman is a human being before she's a baby, she has a baby or is pregnant or what, and exercises to grow that part of oneself that is still a baby, doesn't really want to be, and many exercises to help what we call ancestral or um, incorrect ideas issues. No one in my family can get pregnant. No one. Or it just beliefs that families have or a whole culture has, right?
Mhm.
Oh, forget it. Over 40, you can't have a baby. Yeah, you can. I have many clients that have, gotten pregnant after 40, 45, 46. So there's exercises for many, 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 many types of issues, as well as exercises that just fill you with light and happiness.
I
And
find this so fascinating because even at the beginning of your story, you had mentioned that you yourself had a limiting belief that you were not allowed to be a doula because you had never given birth. And
exactly,
so
exactly.
I find it also really fascinating in how the chips fell or how these opportunities came to being and really showing you that this truly was your path,
Yeah.
even though the seed was planted at a session with a psychic. It really, like, the universe really showed you that this really was where you were meant to be, which is
Actually, it just took off like wildfire. That's when you know. It's like everything about being a doula or teaching people the imagery, I have a good friend, and I said, I can't believe it. I get to talk to someone, I get to learn about them. It is so fun, So all my skills really come to bear. But I have
mm,
to say something else that was what led, it didn't lead to the writing of the book, but I was quite amazed. I knew that I had had that Patricia, I had had sessions throughout, and I always write notes. And I knew she had said things about babies, so I wanted to read my notes, to as I was getting ready to write my book. And part of what I wrote is they said to me, you are going to teach people how to communicate with their babies in the womb and the babies before they come in. That was such gobbledygook. It didn't, I don't know how to explain it. It went like,
And
"Ah,
register.
all right. Yeah, it did not register, but I wrote it down. And when I was getting ready to write the book and was looking through my notes, I saw that and I went, this was years before I met Catherine.
Wow.
Years before, it's crazy. It's crazy. But now I have taken the imagery in a slightly different route. It's the same imagery, but I really use it to communicate with the babies. And I now know all the babies. I mean, I almost see them clapping. They want the parents to communicate with them. And and we all sort of know this. When we die, we go back to the light. Most of us, you talk to your dead mother or your dead father, he's watching over me. So we somehow, believe this, right? Many people do. And well, babies who are miscarried or aborted go zoom back to the light so quickly, so quickly.
Mhm.
But they're there. Sometimes they want to come back, sometimes they don't, but some other soul will come. But you can okay. Very quick little story because it's when it has just happened, it always feels more fun to me.
Yeah.
I had a woman that has been training with me. She's also was just finishing her nurse training. She's going to be a midwife. But I knew she had wanted to get pregnant, but she wasn't like one of the women that comes to me, please, please help me get pregnant. She wanted to get pregnant, but she really wanted to train with me. And believe it or not, we do pregnancy exercises first, and then we do conception. So she was almost finished with the training. And she was absent a couple of times. And I would always send her the notes and the recordings. And then she says, can I meet with you privately? I go, sure. She says, Claudia, guess what? And I'm like, okay, did you become a nurse? I didn't know what the guess what was. And she said, I'm pregnant. I go, oh. And so then it's special. I know she knows all the exercises. She's learned them all. But now I have two people in front of me, a baby and the mommy. And so I said to her, why don't we just do some real pregnancy exercises now, even though she knows them, right? She learned them. So I did one where you breathe with a tree, gets you calm, and another one where you surround yourself with lights of every color. It's protective. Okay. And so I say to her, which is now something I really do a lot, um, ask your baby which one we knew it was a she, which one she liked more. And the baby answers, tells her mother, I don't hear it. They're telling the mother. She likes the one where the baby and the mother become water. And I'm like, I didn't do that exercise. And then you did that exercise almost a year ago. That's when we had learned it. And she said, yeah. And I said, does she is the one she's talking about rehearsing the birth in water? And she says, yeah. I go, well, so it means that the baby to be, first of all, they love the imagery. It's the language of the universe. They talk imagery, right? Well, in words, they talk telepathically. They'll give you images. Um, Sometimes the mother will go in to see the baby and the baby will say yes or like that or say I love you or say mommy you got to drink more water or they can talk very lengthy. Some babies do. Some don't, but I was stunned that all these women that come to me, especially those that are training, those that want to get pregnant, I'm now, after we do an exercise that I'm teaching them, I go in and ask your child to be, if they like that exercise.
Mm.
And there will always be a response. I mean, I'm kind of stunned by how much they can be around, and they love it when, I mean, that just was so funny to me. She liked the exercise we had done about a year before.
I am so proud to announce that we are launching another YouTube channel called Third Eye Wide Awake, a podcast about ghosts, cults, and deeper knowledge on spiritual stuff through storytelling. Wow, that's incredible. I'm curious to know what the difference is between, dream birth imagery and hypnosis or
Okay,
meditation.
that's a great question. Um, there's hypnobirth, which is birth on which is based on hypnosis, and then there's regular hypnosis and meditation. Okay. Dream birth imagery are very short little exercises that, in a funny way, use very uh, light self-hypnosis. You uh, every every exercise starts out by breathe out 3 times, counting from 3 to 1, seeing the number. So it's 3, 2, 1. That's it, right? It's not a big deal. The imagery exercises are short and use poetic language, which
Hmm.
get you into dream state, meditative state. I don't know what names to use. They can be very fun. They're tend to be short. They have a goal. It's either to relax the woman or to connect with the baby or to connect with God or to take away fears. I mean, each exercise does have a goal. It was written for a certain reason. But I'll tell you, it's the mixture of, okay, everyone out there, times are changing, energy is changing. When I started 20 years ago, all the women could do the exercises, but they couldn't hear their babies as much as they can hear them now. I really think that the the veils between the dimensions are thinning. Okay. I also am so sure that they can talk that I think my own knowledge very much helps the communication. But the exercises are written in a way that, you go in and quiet yourself, but we'll do maybe a few exercises, right? So, and pregnant people especially are very open to the imagery. I don't know why. I was just talking to somebody who's helping me out. She's a doula and she's taking my training and she's practicing some of the work. And she says, sometimes I have left brain women that are so analytical. I'm thinking they're going to not like it. And they're loving it, Claudia. They're loving it. I go, yeah, I know. It's very fun to work with pregnant women. Although I work with non-pregnant women who want to get pregnant. And I work with people who've had losses, even sometimes 30 years before. They can still heal that. And sometimes, well, not always my favorite, but because I had cancer and healed it and used a lot of imagery, I also get people that come to work with me because they have cancer. So Catherine Dr. Catherine Shainberg sends me anybody that's pregnant, wants to get pregnant, or someone who has cancer. So and
Yeah.
then people come to me, all on their own because of that.
Brain is such a powerful thing. And so if I think that if you're open to it, and you are open to receiving, you can cure anything within your body. And a lot of what you're talking about, I see in different paths. Like, I think that, on my shamanic path, a lot of what you're talking about is going into theta and going into that shamanic state,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
that meditative, dreamlike state, which is where miracles happen, right? And where you're able to
yeah.
communicate with source and communicate across the veil. And I also think that women are portals,
I completely agree. And I
right?
think pregnant women, especially so, even though the women may not have no idea, and um, something everything you're saying is completely true. Um, but there was something I was going to say right before. Um,
It'll come back. It's okay.
it will. It will definitely come back, but it's so it is the imagery that really does get one into that state. It's like a shaman, really.
Yeah.
They do it by, drumming, rhythm, but we do it, it's kind of 3, 2, 1 little imagery. I mean, beautiful images, and there you are someplace else, right?
Mhm.
And it grows. Even when people get like, I don't know how to do this, they get better and better at it. It's wild to me. Sometimes I have a woman, she has I've been her doula, and then if I ask her, go in and talk to the baby, no, I don't feel anything. I don't see anything. Many of the exercises are to feel something physical or an emotional change. No, no, I don't. And I'm going, okay, but I'm there at the birth and I can help. Then comes the second birth, 2 years, maybe I haven't seen them. They are like imagery mavens. It is like that type of, oh, I know what I was going to say to you. That
Okay.
type of communication, they understand it, they do it. When I had cancer, this is what I wanted to say. Um, one of the I had my two little girls who had been adopted were uh 5 and 7, uh, 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 2005. Yeah, I think that's what they were. And I'm not leaving them. I can't leave them. I can't. They've already been abandoned. I'm not going to abandon them again. And I found out I got cancer right at the same year that my mother died and my grandmother had died. And I went to see someone who, had cured herself from cancer. So, you go do anything. And she
Mhm.
was also quite a seer, quite somewhat psychic. And she said, "Oh, you have such a long line of women that have died at that age." That's what scared me. Okay. So Catherine was away in Europe. I'd had some basic exercises, but I I was waking up one morning when you're kind of quiet, and I heard, "We cannot cure you if you don't get rid of guilt." So that was my task. I mean, I was half Catholic, half Jewish, plus just
Oh.
guilty person. And so, that it was like, forget about it, but I knew I had to. So, and I used imagery and I used talking to the ethers because my parents were both dead, and that's why most felt guilty about. So, I'm talking to them and asking them to forgive me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm making amends to anybody that I think I've hurt. So, um, the imagery also helps you get quiet and hear and see and feel things.
That's incredible. Um, so I'm actually interested in maybe going through one really quick if you have some time. I'm not looking to get pregnant. I just want to put it out there. I don't have any children either. But what is like one of the common imageries that you take
Okay.
put
Okay.
people
Yeah, yeah,
through?
yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, all right. If you're willing to do the exercise with me, then I can do.
Yes.
Okay. So first exercise is called the garden. It's a place where you're safe and private, and we're going to do it in a second. But it's also where you can talk to babies to be or to perhaps a little animal. Let's just do it.
Okay.
And when you're pregnant, it's where I advise people to be. While they're in the hospital, they're also in the garden. So, okay, okay. Oh, I know what we're going to do. Garden mixed with a few things. Close your eyes. Breathe out slowly 3 times, counting from 3 to 1, seeing the numbers. See the one tall, bright, and clear. And you see that there's an enclosed garden. You're on the outside. You can tell it's a garden because you can see that there's growth. You're very moved to find the gate. So you walk around until you find the gate. Tell me what the gate looks like. So you have to tell me what you're seeing, Jassy. What does the gate look like?
It looks like a big wooden door.
Okay, is it much taller than you, your size?
It's much taller than I.
Okay, is it rounded? Is it square? What color wood is it?
It's rounded at the top
Mm-hmm.
and it's brown.
Okay, so this is a garden that is private, safe. So find the key. Tell me where you find the key.
In my pocket.
Perfect. So open up the door, the gate, and you close it behind you. Put the key back in your pocket and take a look, a smell, a feel, a listen to the garden. And take a few steps in so you can feel the ground. And tell me what the garden looks like. What do you see?
It's really lush, a lot of bright colored flowers.
Mm-hmm. What colors?
Like bright pink, like fuchsia, purples,
Mm-hmm.
blues. I see
Okay.
sunflowers.
Are there any trees? Are there any grass where you can go sit? What else is in the garden?
There is grass as a pathway.
Okay.
I
So,
don't see any trees.
okay. So go and find um, the place that feels most inviting and comfortable to sit in.
Okay.
And is it on the ground? Is it on the bench? Where did you sit?
It's on a bench by a fountain.
Okay. And breathing out, I'm going to now expand this for other people too. So in this garden, if you have a, a baby inside you or a baby that you want or a baby that is left, invite the baby into this garden. And for you, see if there's any little animal or any flower that is specially um, attracting you now, but start to breathe, everyone who's listening, with the nature around you, whichever kind of garden you created. And if there was anything in the garden that you didn't like, in imagery, you can change it, you can repair it, bring in the rains, do some weeding, whatever is needed. So, Jassy, is there anything? First, just start to commune with the nature around you.
Um, the most prominent thing is rabbits.
Ah, perfect. So say hello to the rabbits because they appeared. This is like a very mini dream, right? And ask the rabbit, what message do they have for you? What would they like to tell you? What's the message?
Just I feel a lot of gratitude and a lot of love for the love that I have for them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Excellent. So, feeling this gratitude in every cell of your body, and everybody else, if you've talked to your baby or another little animal, and you're ready to walk out of the garden, um, actually, for everyone, we're not. We're not going to walk out yet. You've talked to either your baby or a rabbit or a butterfly or a flower. And now breathing out, you're going to ask to see into the horizon all of your ancestral and angelic help. See first all of your ancestry from the present to the beginning of time, to Adam and Eve and before. Long, 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 long line. Ask those that are here to help you to step out of the line or to light up, to show you in some way that they are here to help you, to guide you, to support you. Around how many do you see, Jassy?
Oh my God, hundreds.
Excellent, excellent. It's okay if you see one, it's okay if you see hundreds. Both are perfect. Have your ancestors or the help that showed up come right behind you. Feel their support, feel their love, and especially if you are in the business of wanting a baby or are pregnant, feel and see that the Divine Mother is behind them in helping to support you. And breathing out, lean back into their arms. Really feel their support. Were you able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then breathing out, ask them, what advice do they have for you? What's the message for you? Have you heard or felt?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So, feeling enriched by the message and by all your helpers, breathe out. You're going to now walk back out of your garden, see if anything has changed as you walk out. And you open the gate, close the gate behind you. And if it was you talk to your baby, say, I'll come and talk to you again. Ask the baby right now if they want you to come and talk regularly. If they say yes, make it a point to come to the garden and talk with them. And then breathing out, close the gate, lock the gate, put the key in your pocket again and or wherever the key was, and breathe out and open your eyes.
Hmm.
So it gives you room to create your own, right? And it gives you room to interact with the images that are appearing.
Yeah.
What message did you get from your helpers?
To keep going, that I'm on the right path. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. All right.
Yeah, that was it's really interesting because I know what it feels like to drop in to that state because I do it often. Um, it was just a different way of getting there.
Interesting. Was it quicker or no?
For me, it was about the same because I trained with a shamanic practitioner, and basically you practice this over and over again.
I and I find that a lot of people who normally don't do that can still somehow get
Yeah.
in there. You know, I think that we're being very much helped
Oh,
through,
yeah.
and so it's becoming easier for people to just go there.
Yes. And so I'm interested for those who have had abortions or miscarriages. I hear a lot of people that have had miscarriages and want to be a parent. How can this help them through their healing journey?
Okay. First of all, we have an exercise to talk to the miscarried child, um, or aborted. But first, I only do it if they want to communicate with them. You know,
Right.
sometimes they don't. It's too raw. It's too close. Um, so uh, the task is, especially if they're willing to, you communicate with the baby and you ask, um, if they're planning to come back again. And if not, what was the purpose for their very, very, very short incarnation? And if they're not, is there somebody else that is planning to come? So all those answers um, create very different scenarios, right? So if the baby says, I'm planning to come back, then we're good to go. Why did you leave? What do I need to do for you to stay? What was the problem? Have a conversation, right?
Mhm.
If they were just doing a service, because sometimes it wakes you up, it lets you realize how much you want a baby, or it lets you see that you need to order your life a little bit because you're not eating right, you know, it, it tends to wake you up into a different consciousness. And sometimes, okay, this will sound a little weird. Um, I had a very gifted pregnant client. I saw her uh, a baby. I was her doula. Then she had a miscarriage, so I helped her through that, and then through another baby, and then one where she was not in the same state, but we did imagery together. And um she's really very gifted at talking to the other side without me quite realizing it. When I would ask, so did your baby like this exercise, or what does your baby want to tell us? Usually the mother says, oh, she's opening her arms. Oh, she says, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about the baby right in uh, third person. And this woman, it took me a while because the first birth, I was also giving her body work that she was talking for the baby. The baby,
Hmm.
so her voice would change slightly, and because she does all this through the voice, um, that's how the other side shows itself. She, as she says, she almost tastes the words. She doesn't know what she's going to say. So her first baby, I took very few notes because I was giving her body work, but she said, I have angels here too. You know, she would just talk a little bit with us. But with her miscarried baby, he became a guide. And every time he would sort of show up, she would cry, and he said, "Don't cry. I'm here to be your guide. I'm not a dead baby. This is
Mhm.
who I am." And um, 6 months or five after the birth of her second baby that I was her doula with, or third really, because she'd had that miscarried boy. Um, she said, "Can I email me? Can I have a session with you? I'm feeling a little crazy." I said, "Sure," and the guide came through, and basically he had been saying, call Claudia, have a session with Claudia."
Mhm.
And when we did, and she allowed him to sort of come through, he said, "Claudia, there are so many babies here who want to talk to you. We have too many things to tell you." I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And so eh, my very wonderful client who let me do her story, but not the story with the talking to the babies. That is still for her. But I got to ask all sorts of questions. And then I got braver about asking other babies with other mothers questions. So I I wanted to know about abortion. What does the baby do when the mother really doesn't want to have them? Because I've had clients who had abortions, but they wanted the baby back and the baby wanted to come back. So that was not an issue. Um, and first, the babies finally explained to me, "Oh, we have choice A, B, C, D. That one might be our first choice, but if we really want to come in, we have another choice, right?" But both the miscarried and the aborted babies said, "Sometimes we come in because we know we can love the woman, and she's not feeling any love. She's feeling very alone. And we know that even though we know we're going to be aborted," I'm telling you, they're the most loving beings. "We want to come in and love her so that she feels differently about herself in life." And they say, "We always go right back to the light. We go right back to the light." But
Mhm.
we want, and then some of them told me, some of us come in, this I almost couldn't believe. They'll come in time and time again knowing that they'll be aborted. I said, you, you do that?" The guide says, "Yeah, some babies want that experience. And they also want to remember they're dealing with um, abandonment or being rejected, and they want to keep knowing that they go right back to the light so instantly." And we have a beautiful exercise where we can, it's very poetic. You take the baby up and you give her to the Divine Mother where they can play with the other babies. But um, for someone that is pregnant and has had an abortion, guilt really ruins everything. They won't let themselves have a good birth or connect with a new baby. So at first, really, that's why I did those exercises to clear that. And miscarriages are much easier to clear. Sometimes the same baby that's there is the one that they miscarried, and you can, for those of you that are wondering, you not only talk to the soul, but you also do exercises to get the trauma out of your body, because
Mhm.
it doesn't just go out of your heart and your mind. Your cells need to get rid of that, "Oh no, it's going to happen again," right? The fear.
Mhm.
So we do I deal both with talking to the souls, but also letting the body be cleared. You can do it by breathing it out. We have several other exercises, but also by seeing if there's any ancestral ties, karma, where this happened a lot. So we cut those cords or dissolve those cords so that there's, depending on the case, right? Depends what you do. But with when someone is pregnant and they connect with the baby they've aborted, and they basically have to ask if they will be forgiven. Could they forgive them? And they have to say every reason why that happened. And usually the soul is already very understanding and says, I've forgiven you already, I understand, or I've forgiven you, but even though I was going to die because I still wanted you to hold me in your arms for a few minutes. Sometimes the soul really is upset, and you have to come to I just ask God for help. I just ask the angels, my higher self, their higher self, help me here. Let's come to a true place of forgiving and understanding. You can't fake it, right? It has
Yeah.
to. And so sometimes, and this happened once, and then I used it again because it basically would, if I have you in another lifetime, is that what you need? And usually the soul is ecstatic. Yes, yes, we'll do this in another lifetime. Or they might want late. You have to ask, what is it that I can do? What is it that you need to be at peace with this? And souls on the other side, some are stubborn, some are not stubborn, some are, I mean, it really varies. So that's what you do. Does that?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like I can talk about this forever. And we
Yeah.
have about 5 more minutes left. So I want to talk a little bit about your book. Can you tell us a little bit about what to expect from the book and
Yeah.
why might somebody read it?
Okay. First of all, it's called Messages from the Womb. And it says through guided visualization, expanding our hearts and minds. Okay. I wrote the book not because I'm a writer, but so much information, beautiful messages were coming through. I thought I've got to, other people need to know this, right? And so the book tells a little bit about the imagery, how I came to it, how I grew up, and I was fairly imaginative child. So it's a little bit about me and imagery and and then it's divided into messages from the womb, someone who's pregnant, messages from miscarried babies, then messages from aborted babies. And really it's a story. It's a story of the mother and the baby. It's little stories. And the last is uh, conception stories and what they said before. So it is basically very life affirming. It will make you feel um, loved by the universe. It will make
Mhm.
you feel that you live in a quite benevolent universe, because that's what what has happened to me by doing this work. Also, it has the story of my cancer because I use the imagery, and actually from my father's death to my cancer. And it is a fairly short book, and it's, some people read it very fast, others, relish it, but it isn't a difficult book to read. It's stories. It's human interest stories, and some of the stories are quite amazing.
Mm. Beautiful. I cannot wait to read it. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'm definitely interested to learn more about the imagery side of things, but we've ran out of time. So
That's okay. Train with me. Have a few sessions with me, although you already do this beautifully. You already are in your path.
thank you. Thank you so much. I know that this could help a lot of people, especially a lot of my listeners that have gone through miscarriages, abortion, and I know of a few people that are looking to be doulas. So I know that this
Oh,
is going
come
to
to
help.
me, come to me. I have a longer training where you really learn how to uh, uh, give the imagery, deal with it, but I'm just creating now a short sh training for doulas. I kind of give you the best that you can use. I would still hope that you fall in love with the imagery and then want to take the longer training, but I'm hoping that the shorter training gives, I want everyone to talk to their babies.
Mm,
And by the way, we, uh, the nicest exercise, you put all the doctors in the garden that you've created, you have all your supporters, and you invite all the doctors, nurses, midwives into the garden and you fill them with light. Everything is guided by the light, including a cesarean. Everything the doctors touch turned to light. So it puts you in a whole different place.
that's beautiful. Thank you
Mm.
so much for that. I really enjoyed our conversation. I love your passion. You just light up when you talk about your stories and your journey. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Where can people find you and how can they continue to follow your journey?
Okay. The easiest way is claudiaraiken.com. Um,
And
uh,
I'll link it down below as
okay.
well.
Just
Yeah.
because there you can then email me and you can say, I'm interested in doula training. I'm interested in getting over a miscarriage. I want to get pregnant. I'd love to take your training, whatever, So I teach out of the schoolofimages.org, but um, it's easier for me to tell you when my course will be if it's not in the present calendar or which way. So
Okay.
I um it is work that doesn't feel like work to me. I'm sure that it's probably for you too, right?
I love it. Yeah, no, that's the way it should be, I think, in my opinion, and how beautiful that how your path unfolded to really help people and the babies that are coming in. Thank you so much. This work is so
Thank
needed.
you, thank you, thank you, because I know right away, well, I love the message from the rabbits. I love how many helpers you have. And by the way, I'll say this as quick as I can. One day when I was getting ready to be more public, I was getting visions of my head getting cut off, of being burnt. I went, oh, no, no, no. And I asked a woman, I guess she was a psychic or channeler, I said, please tell me of lives where I was successful. Please give me a different picture. And I've done this work many other lifetimes.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's so weird because you come to it sometimes late in life and sideways, but it is really what I've done it many lifetimes. In this lifetime, it's even more important because it will it will create a different world
Mm,
when
yeah.
you treat everybody with the consciousness that they have already and with the love, and they choose you, mothers, they choose you. It's
Mm.
not random.
I know, I love it. And for our listeners, if this resonates with you, we would love to hear in the comments. We would also really appreciate a like and subscribe. It helps others reach, find this video and help them in many ways.